You're listening to NGSC Sports Radio. Hear us live on ngscsports.com, where you can get awesome analysis for all things sport. Or check out our podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, iTunes, TuneIn, and much more. For our latest videos, head to NGSC Sports YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter at NGSC Sports and like us on Facebook. NGSC Sports. We never stop.
Hello, my name is Daryl Wilson, and I'm a fantasy footballaholic. I am the host of this episode. Welcome to Fantasy Football Addicts Support Group. This is an open meeting of fantasy footballaholics. Would all who care to please join me in opening with a moment of silence for those who are still sick and suffering, both in and out of the lineups, with the loss of Andrew Luck and Dion Lewis. Now the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change and the courage to make trades during the trade deadline and put the sleepers in my lineup and have the wisdom to know the difference. Thou will not mine be done. Amen. And, I normally have a preamble, but, I'm not feeling the political mumbo-jumbo of the preamble today, folks. This is your man, D. Will, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rory Davis, the fellow fantasy footballaholic who's always on top of his game. And I just really want to start the show off by thanking everybody for tuning in every single week, by joining us in this meeting to help you through your fantasy football ailments. The fantasy football world has been under attack lately with the confusion with daily fantasy sports and gambling and all this other different stuff. And, one of the earlier episodes, I went on an outright tirade against DraftKings and FanDuel because I don't believe that they're fantasy football. And that's just my opinion. I believe that those things are strictly gambling. And that's, a lot of people are taking a stance saying that it should be legal because of gambling. But make no mistake about it. Fantasy football in its purest essence is not gambling, folks. And I just want everybody to know that there is a clear difference. Damn what any of these advertisers are telling you. There is a difference between daily fantasy sports and year-long fantasy football. Just know that there is a difference. Once you start getting politics and money and corporations and advertisements into the game, it just ruins the pureness of everything. So please, folks, fight for what's pure. Do not let them take fantasy football away from us. Because, there's a lot of BS that goes on in this world, racism, sexism, all type of stuff, you know what I mean? And, especially fantasy footballaholicism. Hey, that's what we're here for. So let's fight this fight together and support each other. All right? Now, in lieu of my DFS, in lieu of my preamble, that was my pre-little, and that's just coming from the heart, man, because, this is something that, I'm very passionate about. And, I support, if you want to play DFS, more power to you. But, let's call it spade what it is. And, it's not fantasy football.
Hey, I'll just add to that big Mello that at the beginning of the season, I tried out DFS. I think you even tried it 1 week. And, after I lost my $25, I really haven't played since about week 4. I kind of retired. I gave it up because, I saw it for what it really is. It's like going to Vegas, You get a promise of winning millions, of winning the big, the big money. But really what you're doing, you just slowly depositing your money each week, in the hopes of a big payday. It's never going to come, So, I retired from DFS, and I have nothing against anybody who wants to play DFS. But for me, I'm retired. I'm done. I just stick to regular fantasy football, man. That's all I can do right now.
And this is, I have nothing against anybody who's in the fantasy industry that is, advocating DFS. more power to you, man. But don't be ignorant. You know what I mean? Like, do not play the fool, and just separate the two. Like, they're not one and the same, folks. Like, it really isn't. You know what I mean? Hey, man, like I said, man, before I went to this tirade, I was about to give you props on something, but something just came over me. You know what I mean? I didn't plan this at all. You know what I mean? I just want to let all the listeners know that I did not plan this, and I did not plan that speech. It's just like something that just like popped into my head that I just felt that I had to get off my chest, man. I've just been feeling it for so long. It's been a hot topic all day, and it is what it is, man. Hey, dude, so we're gonna talk about you mentioned some weeks ago, and I laughed at you about Dorial Green-Beckham, and now all of a sudden everybody's saying like, oh, like you must go out and get Dorial Green-Beckham. You must go out and get Dorial Green-Beckham. But if you listen to Fantasy Football Addict Support Group, you know that my guy Rory Davis said this way back in week 4 or 5, one of those weeks, that Dorial Green-Beckham is a guy that you should put on your team and stash on your bench. So if you listen to him, you weren't one of those people that had to go out and chase him on the waiver wire once he received his 10 targets last week and was pretty much the main guy for Mariota in Tennessee. So, hey, man, pat yourself on the back, bro.
Well, hey, another victory, man. Another one. Right.
And also last week, we were talking about long shots and guys to pick up for injuries and stuff, and I mentioned going out and get Dontrell Inman. So I hope you went out and got Dontrell Inman last week, because Dontrell Inman is now the guy in San Diego. Yes, Stevie Johnson is still there. Yes, Malcolm Floyd is still there. But both of those guys are banged up. Floyd, with his torn labrum, he's going to try to play through it. Stevie Johnson, he has a shoulder injury. Dontrell Inman is that guy. And, they're going to roll their young guy out and see what they got for next season. But the Chargers, there's no hope for you guys this season.
Hey, in that Monday night game, I was very vested in that game because I was losing by like 20-something points, and I had just Cutler. So I watched that game pretty closely. But San Diego offense, man, I don't know. Maybe it was just Monday night, but they look a little out of sync to me. So I'm not sure if it was just that one game because I was watching so closely. But Phillip Rivers and the whole offense just seem they're not really clicking that much. So I don't know if they're missing Keelan Allen that much, or Gates is hurt again, or I don't know what. It just didn't look that it didn't look right to me. I don't know if you saw the same thing.
That's what it is, man. They're missing Keenan Allen. They're missing Keenan Allen, and the Darius Green was hurt as well. The Chargers, they're a passing offense. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Melvin Gordon, he's not ready yet by any means, but we all know that from about the third week in the season that Melvin Gordon wasn't going to be the guy who people thought he was at the beginning of the season. He fumbles. He just doesn't hit the hole hard enough. Danny Woodhead is the man. If you have Danny Woodhead in PPR, like, more power to you. I'm pretty sure you're drafting him in the 8th round or less, or beyond. You know what I mean? So, hey, like you said, man, Phillip Rivers is still that guy. He's hurting a little bit without Keenan Allen. And, we've seen over in years past that Phillip Rivers have turned guys into star wide receivers. He has. So somebody's going to benefit. I think Inman's going to benefit, and Antonio Gates definitely is going to benefit. Danny Woodhead's going to keep on eating. And also, speaking of guys you drafted late in the 8th round and beyond, as far as running backs, I did not ever think that it'll come to the day where I would say a moment of silence for those who are still sick and suffering for the loss of Deion Lewis. I mean, I didn't think that I would ever say that, but as we had mentioned a few weeks earlier, like, he was basically top 5 and per game scoring from the running back position in fantasy football. And those who had Deion Lewis definitely were counting on him. And hey, man, I feel sorry for you, because as much as people want to say go pick up James White or Brandon Bolden, like, it isn't that type of party in New England whatsoever. Like, it's not just, you're not just going to get one guy to replace a guy that left. Like, that was a special skill set that Lewis had, and the person that benefits from this most is going to be LeGarrette Blount. plain and simple. Like, this is winter, and this is another team that loves to winterize their offense, like I spoke about last week, a couple weeks ago. They're going to keep on pounding the ball. And LeGarrette Blount owners, just go ahead and rejoice, man, because you guys are going to eat. Brandon LaFell is going to eat. Gronk is going to eat. Edelman is going to eat. That's pretty much it. Taking James White is a nice move to do, but just don't expect that type of production from him that you saw from Deion Lewis. And I'm more than happy for anybody, if you're a savvy owner and you picked up James White just to block the person who had Deion Lewis, because that person's likely in the top 3 in their league right now. That was a very smart move, man. And the other injury to talk about, I know I'm just babbling, Rory. I know I'm just babbling. Jump in anytime you want to, man. Andrew Luck, he was real iffy at the beginning of the season, but on the bright side, people who own Andrew Luck had to look at the schedule, and that schedule is just, man, it's like marble cake, for the Indianapolis Colts. And, word is he's going to be out 2 to 6 weeks, but I'm hearing at least a month. I know that you've been following this Andrew Luck thing pretty closely, Rory. What's your take on this Andrew Luck situation? What would the owner of Andrew Luck do?
Well, it depends on your roster setup right now. If you can afford to carry him, then you could just hold him. But if you have a need, but you don't have to spend, I wouldn't be against dropping Andrew Luck. I mean, I know that sounds crazy right now, but you said at least a month, but we don't know when he's going to actually come back. It could be a month. It could be 6 weeks. Maybe it's never. And right now, it's all about wins. You got to get into the playoffs. So who cares about when Andrew Luck comes back? If you can get somebody like a Cutler, Brian Hoyer is out there, Kirk Cousins, there's a lot of good, mid-tier quarterbacks that's available. Fitzpatrick is out there. But if you can get one of those guys, instead of holding Andrew Luck, maybe try to trade it to the guys in first place. The guy who's running away with your league, maybe he will take Andrew Luck and wait on him. But if you need wins right now, I wouldn't suggest holding on to Andrew Luck because nobody knows when he's really coming back.
Nobody knows, absolutely, and you're right about that, man. Like that. So that's another thing that I want to talk about, like, is holding on to guys or not holding on to guys, man. This is trade season, and pretty much after week 10, there's one more week where you have the buys, and me, man. You've been seeing me in action this past week or two, man. And everybody could be traded. I'm trading everybody. I'm doing the best I can to put myself in a position for the playoffs, especially on these teams where I'm like, on life support right now. I'm trading away, good name people. I'm not going to say all the way good people. I'm trading away multitudes of people to these guys who have players on buys, who have players who are injured. Like, these are the people that you should target for trades. We're coming up close to the trade deadline. Like, scour your league. Scour your league rosters, guys who are on the borderline of playoffs. And, there are people out there that have players on buys that aren't happy with the people that they have to put in the lineup right now. You know what I mean? So if you're looking at a team that is like super, super weak at running back, and if you could afford to hand him like a running back 2 and even a wide receiver 2 and get somebody like Antonio Brown, by any means, go ahead and do it. That's an awesome trade. And, yeah, folks, like that has actually happened. I've seen it happen, So, it's all about – there's no need at this point right now to have a deep bench. What does a deep bench do you? The thing that you want to do at this point in the season is have the most powerful starting roster as possible. Like, the need for depth is all fine and dandy early in the season, but right now, like, the depth does you no good when it comes to the playoffs. And, like, every single week, like, you are trying to get a win. You want to win every single week. There's no, I could use this player the next week or the next week. No. Like, do what you can to get a win right now. Get into the playoffs and make your team strong for the playoffs, for that push for the Sheba. Because you cannot use your depth. Now, if you're a team that's in the top 3, okay, hold it down. You know what I mean? You still might want to make your team more powerful, but because you could use a little bit, you could afford to have a little bit of depth, but the type of depth that you want to handcuff your guys. You know what I mean? Like, I talk trash about handcuffing the well, but this is the point of the season that you want to handcuff people. You know what I mean? If you had Matt Forte, you definitely wanted Jeremy Langford on your team at this point right now, and you see Forte went down a couple weeks ago. Now, if you had Le'Veon Bell, you definitely wanted D'Angelo Williams. If you had Eddie Lacy, you definitely wanted James Starks. But should I say, now, if you had James Starks, you want Eddie Lacy because that boy got demoted today. So, officially.
Big homie, I want to add 2 things to the trade banter right now. And I'll just say, first thing, if you have a really good record, don't get cocky. Always try to improve. Always think you can get better. Even if you're in first place, you have a bye locked up already. You're the man. You're running the league. Never get complacent. Always try to see, how can you make your team better? Do I need to get handcuffs, like you said? Or is my schedule looking good for the playoffs? Just always try to improve. Don't ever think that, you're unbeatable, because injuries, man. Injuries, always play a factor in this game. Who knew Angela could be out for a month or more? Deion Lewis, Le'Veon Bell, the list goes on and on. So, injuries will wreck even the greatest fantasy lineup. And the second thing I want to say about trades is, when you're asking another owner for a trade, you're inquiring about a player, this is going to sound corny, but be polite, man. A little politeness, might just help you when you're trying to get that big stud you're looking for. Don't come in too bossy, too cocky, or, too anything. Just, inquire politely. Don't disrespect an owner, because let's say an owner is 1-8, they're in the dumps and they feel like absolute crap. Don't come in and say, hey, you know what, man, your team is crap. Just give me all your guys. You know what I mean? That's not going to get it done. If you want to trade with the last place team, that's fine. But don't come in and trash their players or trash their record, because then you won't have any chance. So I'll just say, you know what, just try to be polite, maintain good trade etiquette, and that will help you close a big deal, to help you win that championship.
I agree, man. That's like the worst thing is, like, people, like, will start down-talking players and trashing players. Then next thing you know that they're asking for them. Like, that doesn't work.
Yeah, I've seen it.
that doesn't work. That doesn't work at all. And, and don't, if somebody asks you for a trade, like, don't be like, oh, man, like, I don't like those guys, or I hate those guys, or my team is better. I don't need to, like, you know what? Like you said, be polite. Show some trade etiquette. Like, hey, you know what, man? I like what I have right now. And those, so thank you for the offer. Maybe we could talk later. But at this point, I'm just not feeling the trade at the moment. But, I'm definitely open. Like, always have an open mind. You know what I mean? Like, don't be like the idiot who has Devontae Freeman and Deion Lewis, and he was number 1 in the league, and said, oh, no, man, I got the best running backs in the league. The next thing you know, Deion Lewis gets hurt and Devontae Freeman's on the bye. Now he's offering all these different trades in your inbox. You know what I mean? Not like anything like that has personally happened that I know of. It did. But, don't be that guy. You know what I'm saying? Do not be that guy. Trust me. So, anyway, speaking of the whole Deion Lewis thing, man, I mentioned that, I feel James White is the guy. What's your take? What's your take on the situation?
Well, I was going to add earlier that, I know Bolden is not the answer. I know that much. He's a career special teams player. For the Patriots, he's actually a really good special teams player. And, Bill Belichick, his strength is, using the players, to the best of their abilities. So if you're good in a certain area, he's not going to try to fit, a peg into a circle or whatever the saying goes. You know what I mean? So it's going to be Blunt and White. Blunt and White for sure. No, if you're in PPR, I think White is a better play. Standard, of course, Blunt, because he's going to probably get those 1-yard goal line plunges. But, I mean, for a desperation play in Standard, you could actually just try White and see. I mean, I wouldn't recommend playing him right away, but as a stash and see, give him a chance to play and actually see what he does, because I think Josh McDaniels spoke about him earlier this week. He's going to get an opportunity to play. They trust him, all the coach speak, all the good stuff. And I actually, I actually watched some tape, man. I did my research, man. I watched some tape, and he had some really good moves. He's very nifty with the ball in his hand. So, I mean, you never know, man. The Patriots offense is arguably the best offense. So if you have just a little piece of that offense, man, just a little piece could go a long way. So if you have, James White or Blunt, let's just hope for the best and see what happens going forward.
Here's my take on it, man. Like I said earlier, I believe in Blunt's already the guy, and it is what it is. James White, man. James White is an excellent talent, excellent talent. I saw him play when he was in college, and I joined a keeper league last year. It was my first year in this keeper league, and James White was one of my draft picks. I didn't keep him coming to this year's draft, but I still drafted him again, and I have him on my team. So I believe in his talent, and if he gets the opportunity, I believe he will bust. But I don't know how much opportunity that they're going to give him. Because earlier in the season, when Deion Lewis missed the game because of the abdomen injury and whatnot, James White was a starter, but they definitely did not use him like they were using Deion Lewis. Maybe because they still expected Lewis to play and scratch him at the last second, really didn't give him any reps during that week. But now they know that Lewis is out for sure. Like you said, McDaniel was talking big on him. Maybe they gave him some reps, and everything is on the up and up. So by no means should James White be on your waivers unless you play in one of those Rudy Poop 10-team leagues. You know how I feel about those. So whatever's clever, man. And some other running backs out there, man, who can help. And I made a trade today, and I think Duke Johnson. This is ready to explode. And so at some point, the Cleveland brass is going to have to, just take the training wheels off this guy. And by them dropping Turbin, kind of signaled to me that they're ready to give him more of a workload. I know Crowell's a guy right now, but we all saw how, they really couldn't trust Crowell last year. So a couple other things. Do a little bit of house cleaning. D'Angelo Williams. D'Angelo Williams has been sitting out practice the last couple of days with a sore foot. Now, if I'm a D'Angelo Williams owner, I'm a little bit worried. I know some people will say, D'Angelo Williams bossed up, this, that, and the other. But when you look at the history of D'Angelo Williams, it's been like 6 or 7 seasons since he's actually been like that guy to carry the workload all by himself. Last year, he only got like 60-something carries total in that season. The year before that, he had 200 carries in the 15 games, which averaged out to be about 13, 14 touches a game. And now he's getting 25 to 30 touches a game. And you see already what happened after the first game where he got like 29 touches this past week. He has a sore foot. Now, they're saying all the right things. They're just giving him some rest and whatnot. But what if? What if this thing is really legitimate? Do you just want to leave yourself hanging high and dry without a contingency plan? No. Like I said, man, this is a time of year where you're supposed to handcuff your guys. And, Rory, I'm not just telling you. trust me, I'm not just telling you. I already know how you feel. But I'm just speaking to everybody out there. You have the guys that you have. If you're a top done dollar team, and you have D'Angelo Williams, go out and get Todman. Go out and get Jonathan Todman, Jordan Todman, whatever his name is, because you're doing your due diligence.
Hey, exactly. Whatever his name is. That's how you know a player is not a good player, right? If his name is whatever his name is, yeah, I don't want that guy. I don't want that guy. Hey man, we're gonna disagree in this one, man. I tell you what. First of all, D'Angelo Williams, he did not play. He wasn't the starter the whole year, so he's not as worn down as a starting running back who started from week 1 would be right now. That's the first thing.
And still, he already in three starts this year, he has more carries than he had the entire season last year.
That's fine. They have a bye coming up in next week, so he's going to get more rest. But here's the thing, with the whole sore foot, I think they're just being smart. They have to be smart. They have to maintain him. Because if he goes down, forget it. Jordan Todman or whatever his name is not going to do it. All handcuffs are not created equal, man. And Jordan Todman, I know he was a backup in Jacksonville for a few years, but I don't think he's going to be the solution. Now, if you want to handcuff him, fine. But I have D'Angelo in one league, and I'm not going to handcuff him with Jordan Todman because I don't think the talent level is even close to what it is with D'Angelo Williams. So if he gets hurt, fine. It was meant to be, I'll just accept it for what it is. But I have no faith in Jordan Todman as a backup going forward. I'd much prefer to have a better handcuff than Todman. Let's say, I don't know, Ahmad Bradshaw comes to mind. Thomas Rawls, guys, Langford from Chicago. Guys who have shown you that they have big play ability in the NFL. Guys who could become a star. I don't need Todman to back up D'Angelo Williams.
Yeah, I hear you. I'll just add one thing to that, and which really isn't anything at all. This is a time of the year, and we see it every single year, that there is a certain player that comes out of nowhere and just busts and break out that we don't even know about. And who knows who that guy may be. So and last week we saw Jay Ajayi in Miami, and he looked good. But, he's right now, he's a one-trick pony. He's a big guy. He's a banger. He's a bruiser. They didn't leave him in for pass protection. He doesn't catch the ball out the backfield, but he's a big guy and big bruiser. Keep your eye on Jay Ajayi. If you got Lamar Miller, try to get Jay Ajayi. But hey, the dig is up, man. Like he is no longer a secret. I've seen people going out and snatch him up off of waiver wires. I've seen people been holding on to him for a while. And another guy who I'm actually excited to see this upcoming week is David Cobb. I'm excited to see what this David Cobb is all about. Bishop Sankey is likely going to be a healthy scratch this week. They waived and released Charlie Whitehurst to make room for David Cobb. Antonio Andrews is a big plotter. Dexter McCluster, really, doesn't really move the needle at all. But Andrew Luck is hurt. Houston pretty much looks like crap. Jacksonville has a nice quarterback, so they have some good things going on over there. The AFC South, man, is completely up for grabs. And Mike Mularkey, he isn't playing no games. He's not an idiot. I know a couple of weeks ago, before Ken Whisenhunt got fired, said, David Cobb is out of shape. From everything I've heard about David Cobb before the season, like in the preseason, he's big. He's big, but he has speed. He's dynamic. this, that, and other. Malarkey's not an idiot. He's coached in the NFL before, and he knows that Antonio Andrews is not the guy that's going to help his team win that division. And, I really, really hate that this guy, Josh in our league, has been holding on to David Cobb. But David Cobb, I think, man, he's gonna pop this week. If he is what everybody's saying he was in preseason, and this offense, this like run first offense, look out, man. You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, let me pop in an oldie but goodie, man. I'm listening to you. You talk about a guy who's gonna, actually wreck the second half, and a guy who I traded for this week. I'm a little partial to him, but I think Frank Gore is gonna be a beast. I mean, barring injury now, but he's a little injury prone and he's a little older. But barring injury, if you look at the schedule and the setup, Frank Gore is gonna eat, and he's gonna eat a lot. I mean, they're gonna lean on him in the run game and, of course, in the screen game as well. So, I mean, Frank Gore, man, I think he's going to really be exceptional from Week 11 towards the championship week because they have no choice but to lean on him. And, he's going to be like Mark Ingram is in New Orleans. I mean, Mark Ingram, when I watch him run, he doesn't really set your heart on fire. He's not really anything special so far. But because he gets all the carries and all the red zone carries, makes him an RB1. That's what makes him an RB1. It's not because he's a dynamic runner like Todd Gurley or Peterson. He's just an RB1 just due to volume and opportunity. And I think Frank Gore is going to have a lot of volume and a lot of opportunity. And you just mentioned the AFC South, how bad it is. There's absolutely no defense in the whole division. So, later on in the year, that's all they're going to be playing is AFC South games, division games. So, hey, I'm excited about Frank Gore, man.
That's cool. I won't say I could agree with you all the way through. Yes, I think they're going to lean on Frank Gore, man. But Frank Gore is on a pitch count, and I just think they're still going to, they're not going to deviate much from that pitch count. They will lean on him a lot more than they have, but I don't see Frank Gore getting like past 25 touches in a game. And 25 touches is a lot, when you include in passing, pass receiving and such like that. But, they got Ahmad Bradshaw for a reason. Ahmad Bradshaw, I think he's going to benefit from Matt Hasselbeck being there. Matt Hasselbeck doesn't have a big arm, and he's going to be checking down. Everybody knows Ahmad Bradshaw is excellent catching the ball at the backfield. So is Frank Gore in his own right. So, yes, if you have an opportunity, Frank Gore is definitely a guy that could be had in a trade right now. You could definitely have Frank Gore in a trade because the Colts are on a bye this week, and people are kind of down on Indianapolis. So take advantage. Take advantage of those guys who are down on Indianapolis and the owner of Frank Gore. You could be able to get him in a trade. We have a guest who just entered this building. Well, I'm gonna leave him on ice for a second, man, because I got some questions that I want to ask him. But hey, while you there, man, because I see you. Just hold tight. There's a couple of things I want to get to before I get to you. Big up, thanks for coming. So now, players that we like going forward, man. Who are some of the guys that you like and love going forward besides Frank Gore?
Well, it would be actually the guy who I just gifted you last week. First guy, is Dez Bryant, man. Dez Bryant is Dez Bryant. He doesn't need any kind of introduction or preamble. I'll just say, Dez Bryant, healthy or fairly healthy, or he looks healthy enough, and, fresh because he's been off for so long. I mean, going down the fantasy playoff stretch, he could be a difference maker. He could be a difference between a championship and third place or fourth place. I mean, I think if you have Dez Bryant, you got to feel really good right now. And if you don't, you better get to your computer or your phone and start typing away, trying to see what can you do, try to get this Bryant, because, I mean, he's a beast, man. He's a real beast. And besides this Bryant, Allen Robinson, I've been an Allen Robinson guy all year. And Allen Hurns is hurt right now. He's always hurt anyway. But Allen Robinson, man, I already talked about it last week. His schedule is amazing. Amazing. And last week he killed Darrell Reeves. He killed the Jets. So he passed that test. So there's no more question about him being a wide receiver one. And the last guy I mentioned, I already mentioned him, I think, like every week now. That's Alshon Jeffrey. I remember we had your boy from Chicago on the show a few weeks ago. And he didn't like Alshon, but I mean, Alshon Jeffrey is showing you right now why he is in the conversation for being one of the top receivers in the NFL. I think it's like 3 or 4 straight games over 100 yards receiving. I mean,
he's done that the first time in his career he's done that, and obviously the first time in his career that he's really, really been the man. And they don't have anybody else to throw it to, man. Let's just get that clear. Like, they have nobody else to throw it to. So if you had the opportunity to trade for Alshon Jeffries early in the year, that was a smart move. It didn't look good. The Chicago offense did not look good early in the season when he was hurt. But he is definitely a guy, that's a good call on him. Allen Hurns, he's pretty much had a touchdown every single game. He's another, like you said, he's another person that's hurt, but who cares? Like, he's producing. Quarterback-wise, I would love to have Blake Bortles. I just traded him for one of my teams, but I've been speaking highly of him all season, and people really still don't respect Jacksonville. So if you could trade for Allen Hurns, Allen Robinson, or Blake Bortles, even T.J. Yeldon, like, this is a very productive offense, people. And even Julius Thomas, this is a highly, highly productive offense. If you could trade for any of these guys, like, the name Jacksonville, isn't sexy whatsoever at all. So check this out, man. We have a guest on the line. I think he's still on the line. Ray Jerome, what's poppin', man? Are you there? So Ray Jerome must have dipped out on us. He must have exited the back door. But the reason that I called out Ray Jerome's name, man, there's some things that's been going on with the Oakland Raiders over the past couple of weeks. Derek Carr is just a man that everybody wants to have on their team right about now. What's your take on Derek Carr and his fantasy value, Rory?
Well, I mean, I can't believe we're actually talking about the Raiders and their players this late in the season. We haven't done that in a very long time, so it feels kind of strange to talk about. I mean, Rich Gannon, having flashbacks, man. But I mean, Derek Carr has solidified his status as a QB1 for this year. I mean, for the rest of the season. I mean, he's passed every test that he's faced within the last 4 weeks, and he's somebody that you can plug into your lineup and don't even worry about it. I mean, he's a surefire guy. I mean, he looks great. He has the weapons. Amari Cooper and Crabtree, they look great. So, I mean, I'm impressed, man. Your boy looks really good, man. He's showing me something this year, and for all the Raider fans, and I know you guys are excited about it too. You know what I mean? And for fantasy, we're excited for you, because you're bringing us, this fantasy goodness. And I'm actually trying to get Derek Carr right now in one league in a trade. So, I'll see how that goes.
Yeah, man. Derek Carr's a man. And like I said, it wasn't too long ago that you wouldn't even think about putting a Raiders on your team, just like I just mentioned about the Jacksonville guys. So, hey, welcome. Are you there?
Yo.
Nope. There we go. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good. How you been, D. Will? Good to hear from you again.
Ray Jerome.
Hey, how's it going over there, Rory? How's it going?
All good, man.
Hey, man. I know you just stopping in, visiting. But I have a question to ask you, bro.
Sure, lay it on me.
What is going on with the Latavius Murray situation?
Well, from what I hear is he's still going in the concussion protocol right now. But in my Yahoo Fantasy mail, I hear that JDR does expect him to play this week. So hopefully he can pass the test and be out there for Minnesota Sunday.
If he doesn't play, who is going to be the guy that gets the call?
Tywan Jones is actually listed as the backup right now, but if it's me personally, I'm going with a bigger back in Marcel Reese because I think he's more versatile. He gives you a Swiss Army knife, and he can actually help Derek Carr out and cause a lot of matchup nightmares.
So, fantasy-wise, if you're to choose a guy, you'll choose Marcel Reese because of his pass catching ability, correct?
That is correct.
I just saw that Amari Cooper had a little owie in practice not too long ago. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, I heard that what happened at the start of practice today was he went down with a quad injury, and as of now, they aren't giving any more information. They said they'll update by tomorrow. So hopefully it's nothing major, and he can be out there ready to battle Minnesota Sunday. Because with the way their corners are set up, trust me, we need them badly in this matchup.
How do you see us matching up against Stephon Diggs? Is Stephon Diggs going to eat in fantasy? There's always one wide receiver that, and God, we just haven't figured this thing out yet, man. There's always one wide receiver who eats against the Raiders. What are we going to do about Stephon Diggs after the Antonio Brown debacle this past week?
Well, hopefully Ken Norton Jr. decides to mix a little zone in because David Amerson and DJ Hayden, man, those guys cannot run with anyone. Every time Ben went back to look, you see J.J. Hayden staring at the back of Antonio Brown's jersey, and I hope to not see another encore performance of that with Stephon Diggs this week. So I think the best thing to do is probably mix in a little zone and double-team the guy from time to time because I don't think Mike Wallace really scares anyone anymore.
Hey, man, thanks for your Raider insight. We're about to go ahead and close this show out in a second. But before we close the show out, just a few last takes from me and Rory. But, Rome, if there's one piece of fantasy football advice, just one piece of fantasy football advice that you're just looking at the landscape that you would want to give somebody, going forward through the rest of the season, trying to make a playoff push, like what would it be that you want to tell people?
Do not take Derek Carr out of your lineup for any reason, ever.
Good advice, man. Good advice.
Yeah, I mean, after that game Sunday against Pittsburgh, I'm sold, Rory. I'm not pulling the guy out for anything now.
Yeah, I heard that, man.
Hey, Rory, any last take?
Well, I mean, we're in trading season. Deadline is coming up. Just try to be creative with your trade offers, man. And do not think that anybody is untradeable because everybody has a price. If you offer enough good players, enough value, I mean, anybody can be had. Well, almost anybody. Just try to be creative, be imaginative, and, don't be cheap, man. If you're trying to get a big player, don't offer your backup tight end or your backup, somebody. Offer good quality players that the other team can actually use. And then you can get your star player that you want. So don't be cheap.
There we go, man. Working through our fantasy football aholicism, one meeting at a time. So for my co-host, Rory Davis, and much thanks to Raider Rome for dropping in, who's about to get down and host his NGSC West Recess on the NGSC Sports Network, on Spreaker, on iTunes, on iRadio, on all that good stuff. So check him out, man. Check him out on NGSC West Recess in a second where he breaks down all sports, NBA, NFL on the West Coast. And this is your man, D. Will. And we'll catch you again next week so we can work through our fantasy football aholicism one episode at a time. Thanks for tuning into Fantasy Football Addicts Support Group. Have a good one.